Let's jump right in. Picture this, a heavily guarded safe house deep inside New Delhi's Lutyens zone. It's dark, isolated, no press cameras, no reporters, absolutely zero live video feeds. There is just a single laptop screen glowing in the room, and on that screen, the red and green waveforms of an audio file. The voice echoing from the speakers belongs to former Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina.
It's a scenario straight out of a geopolitical thriller, right? And it immediately forces us to ask a pretty urgent question. Is the audio broadcasting from this safe house actually coming from a living, breathing person, or are we just listening to the artificial digital echo of a collapsed empire?
Section 1. The Psychology of the Void, a Faceless Broadcast. To really understand why this is such a big deal, we have to look at the psychology at play here. Think about it. We live in an era where anyone can hop on a smartphone video call in literally 1 second. Yet, a historically omnipresent leader is now communicating exclusively through disembodied audio. Consider this massive contrast. For 15 years, this was a leader who absolutely dominated every TV screen, every billboard, and every textbook in Bangladesh. She was everywhere. And now, just a faceless voice hidden away. This shift is so sharp that it's actually sparked a kind of dark comedy on the ground. People are joking, asking if this incredibly visible leader has suddenly adopted strict veiling on Modi's orders. Because logically speaking, if you can release an audio statement to the press, you can turn on a camera. That is, unless you physically can't.
Section 2. Rise of the Digital Ghost, AI and the Illusion of Presence.
So, what's the prevailing theory among tech analysts right now? Artificial intelligence. Let's break this down a bit. AI voice cloning is basically the process of using advanced algorithms and audio samples to create a flawless, synthetic replica of a specific human voice. Now, what does an AI need to do this perfectly? It needs training data. And thanks to 15 years of daily public speeches, the archive of high-quality audio for this particular leader is absolutely massive. It is literally the perfect dataset to keep a political entity alive as a digital ghost.
Think about how incredibly simple this process is. Step 1, you feed that 15-year archive into an AI model. Step 2, you input a newly written political script. Step 3, you generate a flawless synthetic audio broadcast for the press. By doing this, you completely eliminate the need for the leader to physically step in front of a camera or, honestly, even be medically capable of speaking. You can literally conjure a virtual presence out of thin air.
Section 3. South Block's bargaining chip, the geopolitical game.
But we need to zoom out a bit here and ask, why? Why would India's South Bloc intelligence agencies allegedly facilitate these broadcasts, which are being distributed from places like the Foreign Correspondents Club in Delhi? Well, according to strategic analysis, it acts as a diplomatic smokescreen. When a regional ally falls, you don't just sweep the chess pieces off the table. You keep them in play to maintain your geopolitical leverage.
So the key here is understanding these underlying strategic objectives. First, by keeping the former leader's voice active, there's an alleged attempt to label the July 24th uprising in Bangladesh as a fundamentalist takeover. But more importantly, there's what analysts are calling a semantics of deflection. Sources suggest there's a calculated effort to frame the violent events of July as mere killings rather than genocide. Why does that matter? Because if the former leader can avoid being permanently branded a genocidaire by international courts, she remains a viable political bargaining chip for Delhi down the line.
Section 4. The Chanakya Niti Playbook, Public Stance versus Covert Strategy.
To really grasp India's multi-layered Track 1.5 diplomacy here, analysts point to the ancient strategic playbook of Chanakya Niti. Take the military domain, for example. Publicly, figures like former Indian Major General Yash Moore are openly criticizing the decision to platform Sheikh Hasina from Indian soil, fully acknowledging that it's causing massive outrage in Bangladesh. But the covert strategy? Relentlessly maintaining institutional military ties and protecting the infrastructure they've built up since 2009. Then look at the economy. Publicly, the talk is all about open borders and free trade. Covertly, it's about applying pressure through non-tariff barriers.
And we're seeing this economic friction play out in real time right now. Recently, Bangladesh actually rejected 11,500 metric tons of Indian rice, citing quality issues. Then you have the massive unresolved issue of the Teesta River's water management. Add to that the significant pressure regarding power supply through the Adani Group's electricity exports. Alongside the digital smoke and mirrors we talked about, these economic levers act as tactics for psychological and economic siege.
Section 5. A shifting regional reality, the physical front line.
While all this high-tech, digital, and diplomatic chess is happening in Delhi, what's actually going on at the physical border? Let's trace how this evolved. Because the border dynamics have fundamentally shifted. You had the Pilkana tragedy in 2009, which analysts view as a massive blow to Bangladesh's sovereign military spine. Then in 2011, the tragic border killing of teenager Philani Khatun by the Border Security Force left this deep, unresolved resentment. Now jump to 2024. The equation has entirely flipped. In a recent unprecedented incident, after the BSF allegedly detained an 80-year-old Bangladeshi man, local citizens didn't wait around for diplomatic letters. They physically retaliated, crossing the border themselves to capture an Indian youth to force an exchange.
That is a massive, tangible shift. Local populations are basically creating their own lines of defense now. And the economic reality on the ground is shifting too. While Delhi tries to manage this fallout, China is aggressively stepping into the vacuum with multi-billion-dollar infrastructure initiatives. Think the Padma Rail project and the Para deep sea port. But alongside the physical border, the cyber front line is also deteriorating rapidly.
Which brings us to a highly critical dual-front aspect of modern statecraft: cyber espionage. Sources detail a really alarming recent incident inside the Indian Air Force. Foreign intelligence basically compromised an IAF wing commander using a honey trap. Through a clever social engineering scheme on a video call, they convinced the officer to download a spyware APK onto a colleague's phone. This malicious software then extracted confidential military data in real time. It's a stark warning. While nations project power outward, their internal digital vulnerabilities are being actively and aggressively exploited. Which brings us right back to that dark, air-conditioned server room in Delhi. As sources poetically, but terrifyingly put it, the server room's cooling fan is ticking like a time bomb. We are left with a pretty provocative question. When this digital illusion finally collapses, what happens to this entire regional geopolitical chessboard? When the truth behind the faceless broadcast explodes, who survives the fallout? It's a reality both nations are speeding toward, and as history tells us, the truth always finds a way out of the dark.